Hello and welcome to Weird Around Illinois. Today, since it's the Halloween season, we thought it might be a good time to sit down and tell you some real Illinois ghost stories. So let's get weird.
First story I picked was from 2014. It actually took place in Illinois. It says, when I was younger, at about the age of 5, I wasn't scared of spirits. I wasn't scared until I encountered one for myself. Here's my story. My childhood bedroom was connected to my parents. They took off the door in case of an emergency. Every night I would have a dream, the same dream. I was running down a hall and a black figure was chasing me, and just before he would catch me, I would wake up. I couldn't go to sleep for days at that time, so I started sleeping in my parents' room. The dream stopped, but whenever I would enter my room, I would feel a presence watching me. I tried to tell my parents that I was being watched, and that the man was watching me. But my mom told me that it was just a figment of my imagination. One night I was sleeping and I awoke for no reason, and standing at that door to my bedroom was the black figure. We exchanged a constant stare. I tried to wake my mom, and just before she woke, he disappeared. I haven't seen the man since, but every time I go to my old room, I get the feeling that someone is watching me. Whenever I take a shower, I feel as if someone is outside the shower waiting for me. Whenever I go into the room, I feel as if someone is under the bed. The spirit makes noises, but never shows himself. Is he evil, or is he my silent guardian? I will never know. I hope that I am not the only one who has had these experiences.
Creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, my first take on it is it has to be evil, because why else would it be chasing them in their dreams?
Sometimes the chasing in a dream could be so wild, yeah, it could represent something, whether it be a memory in the past, something else. There has to be some kind of context to why that might be happening in the dream.
Yeah. I wonder if that's a true ghost, or if that's a shadow person, or if they're one and the same.
Yeah. I will move on to mine. So, this takes place on the Chicago River. On July 24th, 1915, a celebration was about to take place for the Western Electric Manufacturing Company. It was planned to be a great picnic for thousands of employees up in Michigan City. The way the company set up transportation was by dividing thousands of people throughout 3 different ships. Keeping in mind this actually took place 3 years after the Titanic sank, they had new kind of protection safety laws to put in for different ships. A ship known as the Eastland, it basically had a bunch of different lifeboats set up across it. And the problem with this is that it was originally very top heavy. So as people were getting on, it began to get very unstable, started to wobble around very badly, and it ended up flipping over, killing over 800 people that were inside of the boat. Now, after this incident, there were many sightings of echoing sounds of the disaster as they were walking past the bridge that they were right nearby. This Eastland boat basically was like right under the bridge, which is why it's so famous now. Mm-hmm. Not only this, while they were walking on that bridge, there were also pale faces just staring at them as they're walking by. People are seeing things, hearing screams, these different things that took place during this disaster. It's truly scary, and there's never been an answer of why these disturbances have been happening.
Now, I've heard of this one before. This is a famous Chicago haunting and Chicago disaster. Mm-hmm. I've even heard that in the bars and restaurants that line the river, there are hauntings in those from the disaster, and they say it's because that's where they brought the survivors. That's where they brought some of the bodies and everything after they pulled them out of the river. They were basically using everything along the shore there as a staging area for the rescue and identification.
Really?
Yeah. That entire stretch of river and everything along it is supposedly haunted. And I've spoken to people who've actually experienced hauntings there. It's also a staple on any Chicago haunted river tour. You have to check out the Eastland site. I guess I find those sorts of hauntings very believable because of just how much energy must have gone into that. I mean, all those souls being lost at once.
Yeah. And there's so many people that see it.
Yeah.
It's not just one report.
True.
Yeah, these kind of things, it isn't just like a myth of one little thing that happened. It was a clear disaster. And then for all of these different sightings to take place in the same area, it's just too obvious.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my story comes from a bar in Chicago known as the Liars Club in the Edgewater neighborhood. It's formerly known as the River East. I'll start by telling you what the hauntings are. The owner of the club, the current owner, during broad daylight, he goes down into the cellar and he's doing paperwork or something, and he's suddenly overcome with this strong feeling of dread. So much so that he has to run out of the building. This is his building. And he doesn't go back in until nighttime when the rest of his crew shows up. Wow. He was absolutely terrified. Didn't hear anything, didn't see anything. It was just like there was this cold feeling of dread gripping his soul. Now, other things that happened in this bar. There's somebody sitting at the bar and they see this ghostly woman behind the DJ. And they knew immediately that it wasn't a real person. The person eventually just kind of faded away. You probably heard a story like this before, I remember from Galena, but there was a case where they hear a woman crying in the bathroom. And, you know, they're absolutely sure somebody's in the bathroom stall crying. They leave, and the person is still crying in the bathroom, but they never come out. They finally go in to look for her, and there's nobody there. There's no windows, no way out of the bathroom. So those are some of the hauntings. There was also a case where somebody got their hair pulled while they were sitting at the bar or serving at the bar. I'm sorry, actually the hair pulling took place in the same bathroom. The bar thing was somebody got grabbed by the elbow with nobody around. So there's a lot of contact taking place in this area. Now let me tell you the story that goes with it. The previous owners of the bar, it was a man and woman, married. The woman was a larger woman. The man was a smaller man. They got into a fight about money. And the story goes that the woman pinned the man down and was choking him at one point. But that's not the end of the story, because the man did not like this very much, and he went back and killed her with an axe. Apparently in a corner of the bedroom on the third floor above the bar, he had struck her with an axe in the head, the chest, and the back. Killed her, and the story at the time is that she was also pregnant when this took place. Now, when I was first told this story, it was by a friend of mine, and I said, you know, every bar in Chicago has a similar story. You know, are you sure this is real? He's like, oh yeah, this is real. Like, how are you sure it's real? Well, I know the murderer. He's a friend of mine. I'm like, what? Like, well, this happened in 1986. The guy served, 20 years in prison. He's out. He's got a business. He's a good guy. Like, he's a good guy. Yeah, he's a good guy. I see him every week. Okay. But it definitely added a level of credence to the story anyway. As I delved deeper into this, it turned out there's more haunted stuff taking place at this thing. Apparently there's a man who appears going up and down the stairs like a ghostly man. And they tracked this back. Turns out in the 60s, this place was a homeless shelter. 60s and 70s, I think. And two homeless guys got into a fight over a pair of pants. One beat the other one to death with a Coke bottle and threw him out of that third-story window, where that same corner where this other murder apparently took place. Now, there are unconfirmed reports that some 20 years earlier than that, there was another murder, another axe murder that took place in that same bedroom, in that same corner of that same bedroom.
Wow.
Which leads me to ask the question, is there some sort of spectral force that is driving people to a murderous rage in that corner of that room?
Yeah, there's got to be some type of demon in that corner.
If I ever get a chance to interview the guy who actually performed the murder, I will ask him if he felt compelled to do so. But his defense was very much that it was self-defense, that she was trying to kill him, and he was convinced he wasn't going to survive the night if she was alive. So he did what he felt he had to do. Obviously, only have one side of the story, since the other side can only be told through a seance at this point.
Yeah.
But that's my creepy Liars Club ghost story. So those are our stories for now. If you have some Halloween, Illinois, or otherwise local ghost stories you'd like to share with us, by all means, we'd like to hear them. Let us know what you think of our stories. And as always, thank you for subscribing and thank you for listening.